Ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to tell you that we are about to cast live matches, 2v2 team games, and up first is a map that I made very recently called Amatasamala. Good luck saying that one. It's almost like a Zerg name. We've got Benno, and of course his trusty compatriot Hamster in the left-hand spawn. And on the right-hand side, we've got ArbuzBudesh and Krankendau. We have Protoss Zerg with Protoss Zerg. So PZVPZ, of course it should be mentioned that we obviously have some very fun times ahead with regards to the matchups. Many of our players, I believe, are playing as random. At least Krankendau ran a game on this map earlier, playing Terran. And Hamster also rolled Terran at one point and rolled Protoss at one point. So let's see what happens. I am very excited to bring you guys some 2v2s. It's been a long time since we've seen some team games with any degree of regularity, but today is Fraudarchy. And today, every Saturday, we gather to play the game in a very, I guess you can say there's some competitive nature to it, right? We've got Krankendau going for the pool into Larvosk, and we've got some nice builds from everybody who's here. We got Gateways, and we've got a Zork's Rush from Hamster. I can't believe what I'm seeing, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we can see. We're getting more attention onto the 2v2s. We got Jujic playing Hourglass and Orbital Decay, I believe, are the two maps that they made very recently. Obviously, over on the 3v3 side, we've got a new map between Jujic and BiddyB collaborated to build a 3-on-3 map. We've got the Shambler building a 3-on-3 map as well. So, you know, these are exciting times for the team players, the guys who want to play Team Cosmonarchy. And I've already seen some very exciting things. So I hope you guys are excited for that, just like I am. I'm clearly very excited, very elucidated. I have seen in a psychedelic manner the future of the RTS genre, and it is team goodness. Although we're going to have plenty of 1v1 stuff, I'm sure. I think, you know what, I might just say fuck it and say that our next tournament is going to be 2v2s, because I think we're getting enough people around, I think we're getting enough interest in that, and we're getting enough maps that will be a very good time. Let's guess the colors. I believe this is this actually Ultramarine? This might not be Ultramarine. It is Ultramarine. I'm just too good, dude. I'm just too good. This one looks like Celadon. Yes, indeed it is. And on the other side, is this Vivid Red or Vermilion? Of course it's Vermilion. And Krankendau rocking the Blood. Is this Blood? It's so hard for me to tell between Blood and Maroon. I'm going to say Blood. Maroon. Okay, well, I was almost right. I got 3 out of 4. That ain't bad. All right, so, and I will say that I'm a little bit cheating with the Celadon, because Hamster rolled this color earlier as Protoss, and I was like, oh, that looks like Celadon, but maybe it's a bit bright, and then I checked it, and it was Celadon, which is sort of like a 75% points, because you say the color that you think it is, but you're not 100% sure, whereas this time I looked at it, I was like, all right, I've seen that recently, it's definitely that. The Maroon Blood transition between those two colors, very, very tight, so very hard to see. Arbu's making it home with his Worker Scout. He's going for a very fast 3-gate play. We've got Zethrakors moving across the map, but the Gorgakor has gone unseen. And I'm not 100% sure it's going to be that efficient, if we're thinking about it, right? Larvosk in the mineral line, very, very safe. The Circuit out already for defense. It doesn't really look like these 8 Zeths, now 7, are going to be able to do too much. Another defensive Hagrant being made, and oh, wow, look at this. We do have some Lakizilisks coming. We're going to need to see workers pulled off to attack that. And of course, Benno isn't in the area to assist a little bit here. And now the Gorgakor attacking the pool. I'm not sure that that's a good target. You can go after the Larvosk if you want, but definitely be tasking that one on a little bit differently. There we go. But this is giving Arbuz time to come on over with the Hierophant and slow it to a grind. There's absolutely no hope now, boys. That Gorgakor is a wasted investment, going up in flames. And you know what? At least the Zeths, they didn't get any worker kills. They didn't end up killing any of the Zork's stuff, but we absolutely could have seen more value out of that Gorg. I almost wonder if it was a Lakizilisk. I guess it would have been killed by the Zeths, but if you could maybe have made the Lakizilisk and then, like, moved it over or something, that could have been big. All right, whatever that was just got canceled. I think it was a Warden. They've scouted that it was Lakizilisks afterwards, so they don't really need to worry too much about that. Defensive Warden for Benno. Doesn't want to get caught with any shenanigans. Extra larva coming out here for Hamster as he prepares to take a natural expansion. He's a ways off of the mineral count. It's going to be some time. Building a Zorius, building a couple of Lakizilisks. I wonder if Hamster found out about the faction idea. Go. He said it in all chat, I think. Oh, no, I guess I'm allied to them, so maybe it's allied chat there. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Well, hey, I will talk about the speculation I was about to say. I just said the word faction so that, you know, if Loader Skates is watching this here, his ears perked up for no reason. The Lakizilisks are going to go ahead and try to deny some area. It's just Mass Zealot here for Benno, hoping to be a meat shield for Hamster's tech units. Again, he has the ability to drop that expansion at any time, but he needs to borrow these Lakizilisks before they get picked up upon, and that is a great shot. Now, of course, Krankendau coming out with the Hydras are going to be able to chew through some of the Zealot moves here. Benno falling a little bit prey and victim to his own inconvenience there. Yeah, a little bit awkward with his army movement. The Lakizilisks getting great damage despite being revealed by the Zealots and the Ecclesiasts, and the Hydras fall on back. They are absolutely safe from this engagement here. And even though Arbuz has lost most of his army, I mean, you can say the same about Benno and about Hamster. Hamster hardly had any army left. I have an exciting unit concept, though, for the Zoryus replacement for the Imikrenia Tendril, and that's why I was thinking about that. And just the idea of somebody going Zorki's Shroud first, it seems like that might be a legit Imikrenia strategy, because their Zoryustaleth is replaced with a new unit, the Enzorthrakor, and this unit is a melee unit that will infest targets if they die while they're being attacked by it. It has like a beam attack. It's just going to be continuous fire, is my thinking. A lot of workers getting caught in translation here. I think this Hatrosk is going to have to get canceled, if I'm not mistaken. The Hydra and Zealot combo definitely going to be efficient. And if you try to focus down the Zealots, they're going to get shield healed by the Ecclesiast. So does get the cancel off, isn't going to lose the 300 minerals. That's a pretty big deal. And now look at this, a forward set of pylons coming, calling him out. Arbuz saying, I will just proxy this position and deny it forever. Arbuz himself thinking about taking a natural. He will be the only player to do so. I say that, but of course Krankendau does have a hatch on the way, about halfway done. Pylons are out. Another attempt. Benno trying to guard it with his Drakadin's lives. Not normally something you see is Protoss defending Zerg with their lives, but hey, strange times make for strange bedfellows, and that's exactly what we're seeing here as Benno charges down the ramp to try to meet the Hydra push. We've got Gorgs up, but they're being, tasked onto the Ovoleth initially. Now the Hydras have to fall on back and try to take some pot shots while they suffer a crazy amount of splash damage. Don't worry though, one of the Gorgs has already fallen. It's just down to whether or not this Protoss force can clean up the Hydras before the Wardens warp in. I feel like those Wardens were very delayed at this point. Definitely feels like something that they should have been watching out for. Canceling a couple of these as they come on in. The Zealots flanking out backwards. They're going to take out Arbuz's forces. The Matrix might end up finishing. What is Hamster going to be bringing to the battle? He's got 4 Lakizilisks in production, but nothing else right now. Just not even really able to hold on too much. 2 Hydras left over. The Matrix is definitely going to finish by this point. It cannot be stopped. We've got Vagrants and Drakadins out as a bit of a mid-range composition here for Benno. And enough HP on this Hatrosk that I don't know that it can be canceled at this point. I mean, obviously Hamster can choose to cancel it at any time, but I don't think he wants to. He wants to stick it out. This is a defining moment, potentially the turning point of the game, as the Lakizilisks burrow defensively, calling out the Protoss forces. Now charging a little bit further forward. Remember that Ovoleth there for detection. Krankendau constantly providing that for his ally. We're going to have to see if that's going to be enough, as the Hydras have already started to fall. Drakadins on both sides sustaining damage. Well, now we indeed have those Cabalists out as well for good measure. They can burst down things very nicely, but the first one will end up dying very swiftly. However, the Strider count is too damn high right now for Benno. He will be able to break this siege, this attempted contain, and push it on forward. Leapfrogging is Hamster with those Lakizilisks. Ovoleth is good enough by itself, sure, but you're going to need to have enough firepower to actually break him down. And Arbuz investing so much money right now, trying to get through and break the engram before it can even be made. That's what our bottom left team here is looking to do. We've got Ecclesiast and Drakadins doing their best to charge on forward as soon as the Zoryus and Ascension combos to get them so much speed. Now the Lakizilisks are diving on forward, and that engram is going to have to be canceled, my friend. At the very least, Arbuz does get some of his investment back, but this is looking very worrying. A Charlatan out as well for good measure. We love to see that. Well, okay, Arbuz does have his natural up, although it is going to be a little bit before he can make much happen with that. This is actually the intended natural for the top spawn, but we played on a couple different versions of the map, so he's probably not put that one, realized that one just yet. You can see how it takes a very long time to be able to flank it, so you can kind of just hold the ramp, or not really ramp, the land bridge here, the land access. What they're not going to be able to hold is this amount of Hydras, or Lakizilisks rather, and Drakadins. But the Hydra count is pretty nice, and the circuits are here. Now, as soon as you kill an Ecclesiast, you get the movement speed boost, and as soon as the Zoryus hits something, you get that boost as well. So I don't know how to feel about this one. Unfortunately, those Lakizilisks are just wrecking havoc on the mineral line as Arbuz steps on down to try to help his buddy out. I think our left team is about to claim victory. Worker count is going to end up being dwindled. I guess they can't really bust down some of these circuits. They're too defensive, especially as more of them be made, and Hydra's charging on forward. That Charlatan is going to go down. That's a pretty big pick. So hats off to Arbuz and Krankendau kind of taking turns bobbing and weaving for it. Remember, the Ovaleth is still here, and some of the workers did manage to sneak on out. But I feel like the push is just going to be too powerful. Arbuz going for a fast synthetic synod. Is it going to be enough? Here's the air unit, the Gorger core, that never ended up getting reused earlier on. That's going to be a high priority target for the Hydras, but they just get splattered, torn asunder, and the Kabbalist is here to focus down some of these high HP units and structures like the Circuith. Remember that can be a very valid use of it. Only a couple of Lakizilisks are left alive, so it does look like maybe this push will actually be held after all. Hard to say. It's hard to say because we have more units streaming on in. It's just Zorius, though. Only Zorius for now. Where's that detection when you need it? The Ovalith returning back, but these Lakizilisks have done so much damage. We're talking about over 1,000 damage on one and close to it on the other. They're going to stick onto it with the tanking of the Zorius, repositioning and taking out this Hatcheros, denying the base. Our right side team is down to only 3 bases combined. And the Iris just got started over here. Somehow Hamster has made it happen where he has not built a single tech structure other than the Zorkis. I am flabbergasted. Krankendau, meanwhile, he's got the pool, he's got the den, he's trying his best to show you what you can do with all the different Zerg units. And Arbuz is just hoping that he can hold this push long enough to get his Demiurges out. I don't know. The Shroud is also up here for Krankendau. Oh, he's picked up the Drakodin by accident. He's got to unload it. You stole my Drakodin. Now you can left click on the Drakodin name here if you're Arbuz to unload it as well, but I don't know. Oh no! Oh, okay, I thought I was gonna die. I was gonna say, you can't just steal his Drakodin and then not give it back. Oh, 1 HP. Okay, it's alive for now. It's alive for now. And I'm waiting for it to die. Oh, it died, and the Drakodin fell out and died too. How sad. Oh, we got a Kagran trying to be defensively placed here by Krankendau. We got Pylon Engram warping him in the high ground, so that's definitely going to be able to help out from Arbuz's perspective. But Tier 2 is done, and now Hamster can decide what to do next. The Kagran is important. Very, very important. So definitely something we want to keep track of. Mutat Spire. Could it be Protathalors, or is he actually going to go Mass Muta? I mean, if you go Mass Muta, it feels like, you know, the Engram is a pretty good choice for that, so... But besides the Engram, actually, there isn't that much crowd control right now, so there is that to consider. Krankendau has really, he's lacking the economy that Hamster has. And Benno is only now taking a natural, right? He's only now setting it up. He doesn't even have anybody mining over there right now. But his worker count is comparable to Arbuz, who is, again, on 2 bases. Krankendau, obviously, almost half the worker count, or a little bit over half the worker count of Hamster. So that's the big deficiency right now if you had to check the head-to-head. The Protosses are okay with, obviously, like Benno is a little bit further back behind that in terms of the tech and in terms of the economy. But the, you know, like Arbuz is not fully saturated on his bases. He's also thinking about taking an additional one. But the big story is killing this base, right? The fact that our left side team looks pretty good right about now. We love to see it. Very interesting stuff, though. Very interesting. I'm liking what I'm seeing overall. I feel like the way that this game has gone kind of back and forth with Arbuz and Crank trying to make the desperate siege over here work. The Demiurge is out right now. It can actually and absolutely take over a mass Mutaflock if that's what Hamster is thinking of doing. He's only making a couple right now. They are kind of pricey, but you get 2 per egg, so... You can see he's made 3 rotations so far. He's got another one in there. Going for the Alkagiteth, a forward hatch to try to cover some of this area. One thing that I did try to make sure to do is you'll kind of notice a repeating tile pattern up here. These are all unbuildable tiles. It's like a subtle note, but you know, when you're playing the game, it's easier to see. And so, you know, and also maybe we should just make it less subtle, right? But those are unbuildable tiles. So you can't like hold this area with structures the way that you could in some of the older style 1v1 maps. Hamster doing very nicely by flying over here and scouting this area. He's going to be able to pick off some of the workers that are transferring over. Actually, he wants to go after the money shot of just hitting a bunch of workers over here behind the mineral line, maybe away from that warden. He's going to end up losing a Muta if he's not careful. Now, of course, here comes the Demiurge. Here comes all the Drakodins. Oh, I love the Barghest combining in with it. That's not bad because it would increase the attack rate of the, or the armor penetration rather, of the mutas. But instead, it just kind of gives the Barghest over to the Demiurge. And because he didn't attack over here before these Wardens finished, he couldn't really, you know, do any real damage. So that feels a little bit awkward. What does Hamster want to do? He's got a lot of money in the bank. Adding another hatch, thinking about what he wants to make. He doesn't play Zerg that often, I don't think, anymore, so... You know, it wouldn't surprise me. Whereas, like, if Krankendau gets to the mid game, he knows what to do. He's practiced in this situation. Although nobody knows what to do in team games. Let me be honest. We don't play them enough yet, but very cool stuff nonetheless. Engram warping in there for Arbuz. Rogue galleries galore. I'm interested in seeing what the tech choices are going to end up being done here. It looks like a Vagrant ended up waypointing somewhere and dying. Not quite sure where that was. Hamster taking this lower base over here. He wants the gas cap already, so you can see him doing that. Meanwhile, Benno still rocking the 2 base, you know. Krankendau taking his 3rd, so... Economy swinging in the favor of the right side team ever so slightly. With both of our leading players, our powerful players, which would be Hamster and Arbuz on 3 bases. But Crank is sort of stretching out to do a little bit better than Benno. Now, the mutas have just sort of scouted the whole map right about now. The engram is going to stop any sort of muta-based harassment from being too effective. I mean, you can definitely do a lot with mutas, actually. Like, I don't want to undersell them. But when you only have 10 of them, like, what you really want is, especially when you think about the fact that we don't really have the selection limit is 252, right? So it's like you can get as many mutas as you want. You can maybe try to magic box them or whatever. Select like a burrowed unit or something like that, and be good to go. Witness. Finally, we're seeing a witness. Okay, I was gonna say Protosses galore, but no embassy and no witness. Double Ardent Authority is going to be the choice here for Benno. Wants to maybe get some Cantors out. Wouldn't blame him for that. Architects as well for sniping Demiurges. His Barghests are kind of sharking around right about now, but they're not really good by themselves, right? They need the Mutaflock with them, or you need to pair them with Vassals or something like that in order to find too much success. But as they are cloaked until they attack, they can kind of occupy a nice little spot, and they did scout that the Iris was being made if he clicked on that. Not 100% sure that he did. Nexus off center, classic move, and that will be the 3rd base here for Benno. So slowly, doing something, catching up. Look at this! Look at this! Crank has just called him out. He's like, you didn't exit, so I'm pretty sure you're still over there. Wiping out all the Barghests. And the Iris is now complete. Let's see what Krankendau wants to do. Immediately grabbing at the lake, and I guess also the swamp is what he's going for next. Would love to see him go for other tech, but at this point, Hamster has a decided advantage and a very large army. We've got Drakadins streaming out as well. Some Legionnaires off to the middle of the map where Arbuz is massed up. You don't want to attack in piecemeal to the Demiurges, that's for sure. Nope, some of the Vagrants are going to go ahead and... get bopped. Not ideal. Well, here comes the force from the right-hand side from Crank, so I think we're going to see a sandwich. And I don't really like the left side team's positioning with their armies. This is looking like it could actually be a very winnable fight here for our right side team, who I thought was ahead in terms of macro, but very behind in terms of tech. Maybe Arbuz can kind of deal with that, though, and the fact that most of the army isn't even engaging right now might be a nice boon. Charlatans are out galore to try to multiply the damage over here, and not too many Lakizilisks were actually ended up used. Hamster has a random burrow Droleth in the middle of the map as an homage to Shambler, while the Demiurges are doing their best to shatter through all of the Kagralisks, but I would still worry very, very much for Arbuz's forces versus those Kagralisk stacks. We've got Architects on the way as well for the ranged attacks. We've got a couple of mutas hackling them with the Hamster. Hamster going for tier 3 at 18 minutes into the game. Very, very fast move there. 25 workers in production. Wants to keep using his current military force and delay as long as possible, but we are going the distance here. My God. Who doesn't love Fraudarchy, man? Tell me this isn't cool. More expansion up north. I'm a big fan of the visual of them expanding upwards. They do put down a lot of static defense, which you kind of need to do because the distances are high enough. And eventually, I think as players are going to get better at managing all of the different aspects of the map, you'll end up seeing a lot more people scouting around, right? This is a fairly large map. So, trying to make things defensive, like the ground choke over here, right? Like that sort of stuff, where it kind of splits your forces. There's a lot of room for the right side team to be gathering intel right now, and they do so with a worker scout, which is okay, but it does feel to me like this is a little bit too little too late. But hey, Krankendau has his preferred task, right? He's got the Lyrilisks out. He will be going ahead and charging forward, I think, very nicely. And it looks like Hamster and Benno are going to try to collapse upon this base. Cliff advantage for Krankendau. He's going to establish that very fast. We've got the engram here as well. I think most of the front line that Hamster has down over there is just going to end up getting hemorrhaged. And Arbuz trying to stab in to the artillery. We've got some Lakizilisks repositioning to try to be helpful, but Kagralisks as well are here to try to maybe hold that off. Charging down the ramp is Krankendau. He's doing his damnedest to make that happen. Nice Architect fadeaway shots. It's just Demiurges for Arbuz. That's all he has right now. And Krankendau, he's doing his best, but I don't know that he can hold back this onslaught of Protoss. A lot of money in the bank for all of our players. Arbuz spends down his cash, getting another Demiurge and grabbing some of the Vagrants, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I mean, this force is just looking very deadly, and the Architects are still alive. They are busy with the Zerg, so they aren't tasking themselves onto the Demiurges, and actually Hamster is charging forward with the intent of just killing them. He doesn't want to allow them to escape. He doesn't even want to save them for Benno. So while that continues to go on, this base will finally be dealt with, and it looks like maybe Benno's forces have mostly been sent off to the other task, and meanwhile, it looks like right now we are going to see an evacuation from that left team. This base will stay alive. Big army fight, though. Big army wipe. Synthetic Cyanide coming out for Benno, as he wants to maybe go for his own demis. I would love to see many more Architects. If he could have 8, 9 Architects, the Demiurges simply wouldn't stand a chance. As of right now, they've stolen a couple of Zorius. We've got plenty of Krankendau Lyrilisks, some Tetzoricors as well, made directly from the Kafralosks. Or is it Kafral, or is it Oxel? Yeah, he's made Oxel Cesians. Okay, that makes sense. Wants to keep his Hatcherosks for the Gathtal upgrade. The Gathalosk is really, really good because it gives you double units, right? So if you make a pair of Zets, you actually get 4. And if you make a Hydra, you get 2. So very, very powerful, but does require tier 3, which, of course, we mentioned earlier, Hamster going for. The Gezkath Grotto being his option. I guess he wants maybe Alcagalisks. Another reason to go for Axtoth Axis now is the Sasirvaleth. We saw that in a game versus Neblime versus Jack Yelansky, if you can believe that. Jack got to tier 3 and got to use them. So those are very, 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 very cool. I'm sure the Luciferius who bountied that unit is happy to see it included. All right, we've got a big mass in the middle of the map now. Krankendau going to be trying to take control of his side of the cliff. But as he runs forward, he's seeing maybe a lot more Zerg than he wants to. The Kagralist count is very, very high. Hard to engage into that force, and it looks like the Vagrants and the Demiurges and such are going to have to try to flank up through the north. This ramp a lot easier to attack up. Got a lot of Lakizilisks out. And now it looks like the Skithercore attack, a pretty sudden switch into that, is coinciding with the Mutalisk attack in the top right. The engram not being set up again. Well, it will end up finishing and cracking many shots off over here. Skits, meanwhile, kind of ruined in terms of their HP amounts and such, but they did shut down one mining base. That's a trade that's favorable for the right-hand side. It does mean that Hamster, if he wants to get back into some degree of normalcy in terms of his worker count, is going to need to be able to make that stuff. But hey, tier 3 just got scouted. Krankendau has the fear of God in him, I think. He's got almost 6,000 minerals right now. I wonder what he's up to. Well, he's going to stretch out forward. Another attack force leaving the base. See what he can do with the forces that he does have. Kind of focusing on just the skits. They're somehow still alive. I really cannot believe that. But right now, it looks like the fight is in the middle of the map. That's where all of the action's happening. We've got 18 Lyrilisks just got queued up. Krankendau showing some signs of life in the production tab. But has he had enough? I think maybe the Demiurge count is high enough for Arbuz to carry this fight. It's a big, long vertical one. Horizontal push, and more Lyrilisks just got made. Yep, they're going to go ahead and charge forward as well. The Demiurge is kind of vulnerable right now. The Gazithalor is doing a lot. That might end up wiping everything, and the Lakizilisks, they're doing very nicely right about now. The ground forces, the melee forces, they're all gone. Arbuz has put down the Monument of Sin once again, and a Crucible to boot. I just saw another hatch go down somewhere for Krankendau. Oh, yes, he's trying to take this upper right-hand area. Benno's got a lot of money in the bank, too, so Krankendau's not alone in that department. I wonder if he might just be waiting for tier 3 on the gas department. Well, I'd say that. He's just made 6 Calculisks out of the Oxel larva. So that feels like maybe he might just be a little bit like, it's hard to spend your minerals in Cosmonarchy sometimes. You need way more hatches a lot of the times. Now, unfortunately here for Krankendau, a lot of his forces are getting shellacked before they can even hit. And I think the Gazithalors with the Architects, I think it's going to be enough. Well, I say that, and charging on forward, Demiurges stealing other Demiurges. Now, as soon as these Lachesis borrow for Hamster, I think we're okay. Kagralisk's charging on forward. That is going to be GG called. And we even get a hash at the way in. No problems there. But Arbuz wants to stick around for it. Is he actually player one? Let's find out. Nope, he's not. It was Hamster. Hamster got a prank at the end. Well, don't worry, boys, because prank or not, that was a victory for our top team. Let's see what happens in game number 2 and 3 if they're still good for it. Well, actually, it looks like Benno is going to bed. Bed no, actually, or bed yes, because he's saying yes to bed. But hey, thanks for watching that 2v2. We'll have more of these coming. Of course, there's much more to find in the future as we get a little bit closer to having more regular 2v2s, having more exciting matches between everybody, and of course, more 2v2 maps themselves. So stay tuned for that. I'll try to go for a best of 3 later on, and maybe in the next Fraudarchy, or maybe later today, we'll get some recorded and packaged for later on in the week. So stay tuned, and other than that, GG's and see you guys soon. Peace!